You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katie Van Horn.
Hi, Jackye.
Hi, Katie. How you?
I'm living the dream on this fine Sunday morning in Arizona, where the temperatures are currently 77 and getting up to 88. So after this, I will be over by my pool if you need me. The end.
Well, I'm living someone's dream. For sure. I have donuts.
Yes. Donuts are necessary on a Sunday.
Not quite a pool, but donuts.
I drove past a Krispy Kreme yesterday, and they're like, most of them are gone from Arizona. And I was like, I remember getting those when I first started selling at Adecco, when I was still at Adecco. So selling talent and contingent workforce. And I remember getting those for clients all the time. And your car would smell like Krispy Kremes for like a week after that. And you'd be like, I feel like I might vomit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's happening. All right. So this is the Inclusive AF podcast. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll quit talking about donuts now.
We're hot and ready.
We are so ready. Woo.
It's like Krispy Kremes. Hot and ready.
Hot and ready. And sugary, sugary, sugary.
Let me tell you though.
But delicious. Like one of them is delicious. Two of them is not
Maybe
ideal.
Leave a little bit of stains on your fingers a little bit.
Yes. You may die.
Have to wash your hands twice.
So Jackye, what are we talking about today?
Listen, we're talking about Basecamp because I've loved every second of it. I've loved all of it. I loved it. In case people are not aware, the cliff notes or the Jackye Katee notes are: something went down at work. CEO says we're not talking about politics or religion anymore. 15 people
Any
said,
social justice issue will not be discussed. Anything hard will not be discussed. Anything that actually affects people will not be discussed.
That's right.
That's not quotes. That's my interpretation, but that's what he said.
That's the Jackye Katee notes. And then people said, walk around and see.
Test me. It'll be fun.
Like, say it to my face and left. Apparently, there was an internal meeting that said you can leave 6 months severance, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
But what was interesting, because me and Katie are both on Twitter all of the time. We're on Twitter, and you kept seeing people popping up saying, I'm leaving after 17 years. I'm leaving after 11 years. I'm leaving after 5 years. And I didn't realize there's still a small group. So 30% of their workforce left.
They lost a third of their engineers.
Yes.
And then I think other folks started following suit.
Their CMO left.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the actual visual of like the engineering team, and they crossed out folks and you're looking at that and you're like, oh my goodness gracious, like they're going to be in trouble, like just from a work, like let alone what they said. And it was horrible, but also like, oh, Nelly, this could really impact Basecamp in a not so great way. So.
But then also a friend of ours said, I wonder how many people that were underrepresented or disenfranchised had to keep their job. And then we looked at the list. We're like, oh yeah, not a problem. Nope. Didn't have a lot of diversity, which was honestly probably part of the reason why the CEO thought that he could say, we're just not going to talk about any of the things that are affecting our fellow citizens at work. Well, so dumb.
Here's the thing. I would caveat by saying affecting everyone, period. Like this is impacting people of color in a horrific way. But to say we're not going to talk about it all to white people is also such a blow, because it's like, no, they're the folks that need to be talking about this. They're the folks that need to actually listen and learn and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize, I'm going to be generous here. I didn't realize that was happening to this community, or wow, now I'm learning more, whatever they might in their head think. But to say, oh no, we don't have to deal with that. It's cool. It doesn't impact us.
And now some of the things that he said were true, but don't matter. Like, oh, this is a distraction at work. Yeah, doesn't matter. It's more of a distraction to not have the conversation. And
right.
It's more where people don't feel safe. It's a safety issue. And that's the big piece, because how do you even, who gets to determine that, like, who's the tone police and who gets to determine what is unspeakable?
Well, like every leader is going to come running to HR immediately and be like, they talked about this in a meeting, so we should fire them all.
Well,
I guess
apparently there was a
that
list
now
as well. No, they can't do that. They can't do that. There was a list going around internally at the company of names that they thought were funny in the customer service group. And so, of course, when they looked at the list, they said that they were like ethnic names. And then the CEO was like, there was only like 8 Asian names on the list, which I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes
What's
it better.
happening? Yeah.
You just like, you have delusions of grandeur to the point where you honestly thought it was so right. Like, he wrote information about it that's still up on their blog internally about their people, which I feel like besides the fact that I already think that enough white men are completely delusional in delusions of grandeur and worth to feel like they can share information like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's particularly interesting because this is not a startup. They've been in business for over 18 years.
Right. And they're in the heart of it, because I believe they're in Silicon Valley, or that's where their headquarters is. Maybe it's Seattle.
I think they have a distributed team. But
like, yeah, how can you be so tone deaf and oblivious? Like, that to me is like the excuse that we'll hear, and it kind of is already what we're hearing from them. But I think it's also we don't believe you. Like,
yeah,
you can't be that oblivious to what's happening in tech, to what's happening in the communities that are surrounding you, that could impact all of your employees, and specifically your people of color.
Well,
like, you can't be that dumb.
People are dying in India. We're not going to talk about it. Asians are getting like beat up and killed in the street. We're not going to talk about it. Like, Black Lives Matter, we're not going to talk about it. Okay, so what are we talking about? Like project management software? Boo.
That's the only thing you're allowed to talk about. Yes, the only thing.
So we're not supposed to connect with humans.
No, we don't. Well, it's kind of that whole, like, we don't care what you do after work, which sets a very different tone than it should, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like, hey, let's, get them if they go to happy hour and do something stupid, but more the, how do you not care about your employees and the life that they, like, I just spoke to a gentleman this week who was talking about the fact that he lives in Minneapolis, and his wife will not allow him to run at night. Now, this is a big guy. Like, he, could take care of himself if something occurred, but the fact that his wife is like, absolutely not, you're not going outside after dark to run. And, that is the type of fear that people of color are facing. Mm-hmm. And yet we're treating it like, oh, well, no, we don't care. That's not our problem. That's you after work. Like, what? Right. That's not the message you would ever want to send to an employee. So right. It's just fascinating.
I found it, it's fascinating, but it's just incredibly stupid. It's like, here's the thing that if people are listening and they're talking to their CEOs, like, we know that internally we're just a microcosm of what's going on externally from our offices. And in order to care and nurture your employees, real life creeps into those spaces. And so we need to support our employees because there's a lot of stuff going on that are creating people to be distracted. So, but if you feel safe at work, you're able to get through the day into a safe space. It cannot be an unsafe space. And that's already the problem with Black and brown and gay and trans. And
hey, you just muted yourself. Jackie's gone on mute. She's
that was
finished
so
talking.
Funny. How did I do that?
I don't know. You decided you were done talking to us.
God
just going to talk to yourself for a minute. Sorry, please continue your thought.
Whatever I said. No, I'm done.
Okay.
No, but you have to support, it has to do with safety. So you have to support your people and recognize that they might be going through some stuff, because there's a lot of stuff to be going through right now.
Absolutely. And I would also say it's kind of like, and I don't know if you ever kind of heard this analogy or have experienced this, but one of the things, like for benefits and for comp and for some of the departments in HR, it's also the don't let your employees be distracted because they have to go file 45 pages of paperwork because they had a baby, or because they had to take a mental health leave, or whatever it might be. Like, don't put that additional stress on them. And so it's like as easy, as streamlined as whatever that you can make it, do that so that people can focus at work and aren't, oh my gosh, I have to get this from the doctor, I have to do that, whatever. But that is more like, again, kind of the well-being of your employee and making sure that they have the resources. Like, hey, if someone in HR can help them do the paperwork in 5 minutes, they would probably take them hours to get done. Let's do that. Let's sit down with them and walk them through it. It's not a huge deal. And so things like that, that's also what kind of comes to mind, is the lack of awareness of how saying those words will impact your employees, and they will be not focused on work. So you made the statement, hey, they said in there, something about, we want people just to focus on work. No, you're creating a barrier. And so now all they're going to think about is, wow, this employer doesn't really care about me. This employer doesn't really give a shit that, I'm going through stuff and I'm dealing with life outside of these four walls that's coming into these four walls because of what I'm dealing with. So yeah, it's bananas.
Well, and it says they don't care about their whoever purchased their product, because they said, we're about money, we're not about politics, and we're not like social justice warriors or whatever. And it's just stupid. That's
it's the whole, you can't sit by the sidelines and decide, yeah, we're not gonna do this, like we're not gonna participate.
A lot of people do that. This is the thing. A lot of people do that in a different way, like just by saying we can't talk about politics at work. And then what they deem as politics are things like, I don't know, did you get your COVID shot? Or, are we going to work it back in the office? Like all of those things kind of lead back to those places. And so it's like, let's just not talk about things that are impacting the world and just talk about ourselves.
Yeah. Nasal gating. Nasal gating. Oh,
is that like mountain climbing?
I think I need more coffee or something. I'm not sure. It's been a morning. Yeah, I think the navel gazing route is always really productive for a company and really makes them sustainable long term. So
sustainable is the word I was looking for. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Sustainable
totally of assholes, just sustaining
not their actual product, which will be, but like even that, like we need to let this one go because I am just going to get more frustrated. It just was a dumb thing, period.
And so I think I think what would be good to talk about is like, how do you navigate these conversations at work when things come up at work? This isn't a situation where nobody can sell their kids wrapping paper at work because we have to support everyone or whatever.
Right.
I think it's important to have different discussions. I know one person that I spoke to last week said that they have like real campfire chats, like open forum discussions about things that are going on, like how are you feeling kind of things going on at work. I think it's always important to have somebody in place who actually knows how to navigate and deal with some of these situations. But I think it's important to have a place where people can feel safe if they are wondering if we can rally to support an employee, how can we do that? One of the things I've been researching this week in particular for CCAT was just what can we do with our veteran filters? What can we do to help veterans more? And I think about that. I was thinking like, wait, do they help any of these veterans? Because there's so many things crossing over, trying to understand the life of someone who serves our country and how we can bring those into the fold. And in talking to a lot of various veterans this week, they have told me some horrific stories from organizations that have like Army in the title of the organization and then say, oh, we don't hire veterans here. You have to go someplace else, or not looking to embrace the people that try to keep us safe. And so it's a real dotted line segue into that topic, but I think it's important to think about what things are we trying to shield people from or discourage people from sharing, and how does that impact us at work?
Well, so on that one, I'm going to sidebar for a second, because I think veterans is one that I think always gets, you get the whole, it's difficult, we can't find them, we don't know what they did. There's now like a bunch of different sites that you can go to navigate. Okay, they were a X in the Army, Marines, whatever they were. This is what it translates to in civilian terms. And it's just for the very fact of like, there is some, okay, well, what did you do there to actually, like, what job would fit? But again, this is where it takes a minute and it takes a little bit of learning. But once you do, veterans are one of your best populations to hire, because you have a higher population of people of color. You have a higher population of folks that know how to listen and do their job. And you have folks that are extremely loyal. So like, those are three great things, characteristics that you should be like, yeah, we want these people here. We want to hire veterans as much as we can. And yet you see this like, disregard, or, oh, that's too much work, it's too hard.
Hi, we're Meg and Amy from The Meg and Amy Show.
We're not only tech execs and big picture thinkers, we're also best friends.
We're curious learners. And on this podcast, we're challenging the status quo and activating the future.
And we're going to give advice about work and leadership, right, Meg?
We can't help ourselves. But this podcast is about exploring possibility, not being right.
That sounds refreshing.
For more, tune in to The Meg and Amy Show.
And you know what part of it is? Like,
there's no pipeline.
I swear to God, I hate you so much. With love. Said with love. One of the things that makes me so frustrated is like, people will say, well, he wouldn't tell me what he did. So yeah, some people, PS, if you're recruiting veterans, can't tell you what they did.
Right.
You have to let it go and start recruiting for values and core things, and talk about your office, not their office, to see if they put those things on their resume. Stick to that. Save yourself, because you're going to make yourself look and feel really stupid.
So, and I think there's another group there that's like, Indigenous peoples are so disregarded for, what they can bring to an organization. And again, there's just a ton of tools and a ton of resources that are out there that are, how do we connect to these communities? And I shouldn't say this because it's a major assumption. There are reservations on the land of most states. I don't know if that's an accurate statement, but I'm in Arizona. We have Indigenous.
Well, there are in Arizona. I'll Google it.
Oh, it's a bunch. We have I think we have 21 nations in Arizona. And so from a reservation, some of them are combined on reservations, which is a whole nother conversation for another day. But yeah, I think there are 21 tribes. It might be more. What does it say, Jackie? What does your search say?
There's a bazillion.
Yeah. What is Google?
A bazillion. That's what it's saying, that there's a lot.
Yeah. well, and it is because I think with every, if anyone has a national park in their state, that was land that was stolen once, and then another time once it was made into a national park. And again, that is a broad statement, but that's kind of what happened to most of these reservations, is that they were granted land, And then it was like, no, that land's too good. So we're going to give you this other land that's not great. It's just interesting.
There's 326 federally recognized Indian reservations, and there are nearly 700 tribal areas. And so they were looking at that they just looked at the top. Like there's 29 in Washington, 30 in Oklahoma, 75 tribal areas in Hawaii, 107 in California, and 222 in Alaska. And there's more everywhere. Like you said, it looked like, a lot of places. There's only a few states that don't. It's easier to say the states that don't have Indian reservations are Arkansas, Delaware, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Maryland, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Vermont, Virginia, and West Virginia.
Which is interesting because, I mean, just knowing.
Yeah, there were no Indians in Georgia or Delaware.
Yes, there were.
I know. That's why I'm like, wait,
what?
isn't Illinois?
Yeah, Illinois, I think it was Iroquois.
Yeah.
Ohio was the Chippewa. I know that because I'm from Ohio, and everything was named Chippewa inappropriately. In the South, you had all kinds of indigenous groups. So anyways,
No mas.
We're totally that was a long sidebar. What were we talking about originally? Basecamp. Then we went to.
We're talking about not talking about politics at work.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we're going to ignore this isn't an answer. So you were asking, what should you do about it? So I'm going to tell you what I would do in my current role as a consultant doing diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting. I would ask who all was involved in the decision to write that statement and share it. Because if the PR team said, oh yeah, that seems great, fire them, every single one of them.
Absolutely.
And then I would secondly go to the CEO and do what I'd like to do, which is what's the worst that could happen? Let's play that game. Because any good HR person, any good PR person would know, how is this going to land right now today in 2021, knowing everything that's going on in the US and abroad, to your point, India is not okay right now. There's a lot of countries that are not okay right now. How will this land? And I would hope any good HR or PR person would go, this probably isn't a good idea right now. Let's hold on this and let's maybe just take a pause and think about this. Now, I understand there's probably conversations going on that are hard conversations. The other route is teach folks how to have that conversation.
That's right.
In a positive way. How do you have discourse without it going to extremes? That you should be able to, like you said, pull people together and say, let's talk about this.
And I think that's what I would do if it came on my plate, we're thinking about doing this as a DEI strategist. I'd be like, what is the end game? How do you think this is going to play out? What are the repercussions for these types of things? And let's just talk in generic terms about what's affecting our employees today.
Right.
Just so you know, this is going on right now. And this is how it's going to affect whatever you think is happening. It's going to get worse in these areas, and we're not going to be able to recover. We're going to have to look at those things. What are you really trying to say? Are you saying that you don't think people are working enough? Because that's a whole different issue. And I think that's what was missed in the article, that the memo that first went out, and anything that you see about talking about it, is that he didn't say, y'all, I'm paying you for a full day and you're only putting in 2 hours. It wasn't okay, we can talk about this issue, but we need to still this is how it's affecting our company. It didn't give anybody enough context. And it was just shut up.
Yeah.
And never is going to work.
Please stop talking immediately, sir.
Could you calm down?
Could you calm down? Nothing good can come of this.
You seem a little angry. And I'm hurt by that. I've done a lot for you. I gave you a job.
I built this company with my own bare hands.
I built this
sons
city
of guns
with rock and roll.
Can we switch topics for a moment?
Absolutely. Positively.
So we're going to go into something You're going to beat me up a little bit.
Very little.
Okay. As much as you want to, you can though.
Okay.
Obviously, feel free. I will take it. I love it.
Yeah.
White people doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Katee, why are you doing this work? You
Stop
bastard.
it. Stop it immediately.
No, this is the thing. Like, I will notice, okay, this is going to sound really creepy. There are people that I know should not be doing this work that just happen to be white women. Like, it wouldn't have mattered the race and or gender. They shouldn't be doing this work. They read one book and saw one docudrama or something and decided they were experts. Shouldn't do this work. But I feel like, I feel like it's not fair to, we're trying to not generalize all of these various people. And I think that it's unfair when you say, I need you to reach your people. Like, I can't tell you, like, even as open and transparent as we are, I can't tell you how many times where I'm like, Katee, these are your people. These are your people.
Get them in line.
You need to talk to your people. I just know that people have given you, I'm sensitive to the way people respond to you, but people have responded that white women should not talk about diversity and inclusion and they're taking space. I think the problem is when you look at the situation from diversity and inclusion, and then what happens, just like in other fields, we take out being like a feminist and white women feminist versus what's going on for the Black woman experience is why people have that disconnect. Because historically, when you look at these groups that have women in them, the majority of white women stop as soon as their needs are met,
right? Which
are outside of Black and brown people. That just means you have to do the work and educate yourself and be able to speak for all people. Because the other flip side of that is that diversity and inclusion is not just Black and brown people and not just female people. So that's where I'm like, what are you talking about?
I would agree with that. And I think the other piece, and you know this because you've been roped into situations, I don't speak for everyone. And I know I don't have the experience of everyone that I'm creating awareness about and all of those things. And so I love having folks that have the lived experience come and talk to my clients or come and, do some sort of workshop with my clients, because I think it's so critical to have that type of space where, you have been a part of a year-long program with me with a client, and they've now spoken to multiple groups. And we did focus a little bit on race for a few months and, some of the different pockets that are in Arizona and, who we need to be aware of and all that good stuff. But we're also diving into things like psychological safety. We're diving into things like power and privilege. And those are also really tough to navigate. And so there is a piece of me that what I say or how I talk about it is I'm not going to try to speak for every group because I don't have that experience.
That's right.
But there is an approachability piece where I can say things as a white woman that maybe a person of color could not say, and vice versa. And
people
so it's also,
listen, people say stuff to you and I'm like, are you kidding me? That they would never say to me, which means to me, I'm so glad that they talked to Katee because they wouldn't have talked to me about what's going on. So there would not be a conversation, because there's been situations that I've been pulled in and you can tell where even as we go through it, that people are hesitant or afraid of having real conversations. And the flip side is, I don't know why some of the people you talk to really not afraid, Katee. They really not afraid to talk to you about things that I'm like, somebody said, what?
Yeah. And I guess that's part of it too, is like, there is that comfort there that they will say things that then I can educate from a different way. So even, I was talking to someone the other day and they were talking about minorities. And that is one of my cringy words, like, cause I'm like, well, actually they're not. So let's talk about that first.
Yeah.
And so just even educating on silly things, or, not silly, but, things that are, for me, just common knowledge. For
Like you should know
just,
better.
yes, you should know better, but they don't. And that's
They don't.
okay. And that's part of the learning. But it's also things that I agree with you. They'll share with me that I'm like, oh, wowzers. Okay. Yeah. We need to start at a different place than what I thought.
Yes. And well, the other day I was listening to a podcast. I'm very specific about my podcast. We do this work, and then every Sunday we are recording stuff and we talk about it every day. So like in my personal free time, I don't listen to things about diversity and inclusion. I do it when I'm working for a specific goal. But this day I was listening to a book review of this woman who people hire in to do diversity and inclusion work. She literally tells her story that she was a coach, like a life coach person. And she read White Fragility, the book, and said that she was doing it wrong. She read that one book, realized she was doing it now. And now she teaches diversity and inclusion because white women don't understand. And she's woke because she read one book. So now she knows that it's another experience. And from that book that all it does is create damage for white women, just damage themselves with no resolution on how to get to the end game. And they're all just say, we're bad people. Like, oh, sorry, Black person, I'm a bad person. And that's usually as far as it gets. So she just, I don't know. It's like a sadomasochistic clubhouse. Sorry, fans of the book. That's just how I see it.
I agree. And I mean, I don't know that we've ever talked about that book on here.
We've never talked about it. No, we've talked about, no, we haven't.
It is one of those books that you are like, God, I wish this was good. I wish this was
I wanted so
helpful.
much for this to be helpful.
Yes. And you're reading it and you're going, wait, what? Like,
really?
Yeah, this isn't helpful for anyone. But I also think for me, it's also there are so many good books from people. I mean, in movies, like you can watch Crip Camp and learn more about people with disabilities. You can watch 13th and learn about the historical context of imprisonment for Black men and women. You can learn about some of these different topics. And it's like that book is at best like junior level, and at worst, to your point, like damaging as heck to people. So I agree with you. Like, I think there is the other one that kind of gets to me or kind of sticks in my craw is now I'm a diversity expert because I talked to someone who is gay. Now I'm a diversity expert because I have a friend who's trans. Now I'm a diversity expert because I'm married to someone who's a person of color. And you're like, no, that's not how life works. Like, I can
tell you, my husband
experience.
Is no diversity expert.
He might be. You just don't.
Show is not. That's another day. I keep saying that. One day we really have to have him on because I know
he's so good. He's so
that you do that. But I do feel like that, to me, if you looked at like Hood Feminism, is a book that I love because I feel like it gets to the point to talk about women, the battle between white women and Black women, like legit. If you go through history, and that's the whole thing that I think is an important part, specifically if you're going to be a white woman going into this space, because you need to learn. I think white women don't realize their own bias against Black women, that all women are not included in a lot of the narrative.
Well, I'm
just like Lean In. Remember the book Lean In? And Black women are like, yeah, that's not happening.
But from that, we got the memo from Minda Harts. So I will say that book was amazing. And it is like you almost have to have like that example is a great one of, you have to have like a counterbalancing book from women of color. And you're like, why can't we just, so I was reading a book, I'm trying to look it up right now, and I'm not reading it because I'm doing Audible. So not really reading. That's a lie.
I lied to you. I have books all over my desk.
Yeah, I have so many books in my library of Audible. It's not even funny. But Invisible Women by Carolyn Criado Perez. I might be mispronouncing that a little bit. Her book, like, and I don't remember what section it is, but she was just talking about the white women versus women of color. And her whole point was like, even the suffragettes, like they were white women who were like, no, we don't want you Black women to be with us when we're doing this. And so they actually like snuck into the back of the line at, during a parade and, things like that, that you're just like, how dumb are we?
Mm-hmm.
As a white person, like how dumb, like right now, I think there's such I feel like it's positive, like partnership between Black people and Asian American Pacific Islanders. Like they're all kind of coming together to work together on these horrific acts that are happening to them. And that just feels so good because it's like, yeah, you get it. Like you get that it's like, if we're all in it together, we all win versus I'm going to go do my thing. I don't want to be involved with your thing. No. And it might not be the exact same issue, but it is definitely like, we want equal rights. We want to be accepted and left alone. And so, yeah, I think there's just so many ways that we could do this better. But I think it's the bandwagon effect is kind of just driving me crazy right now because these folks that I've heard speak in the past, and you're like cringing the whole time by how they're speaking about different groups. And then now there's some king or queen of diversity. And you're like,
I can't. I'm going to say, and I don't know if you've read this yet, I'm going to recommend heavily, and we'll put it in the show notes for reals. Because sometimes I say I'm going to put it in the notes and I didn't get it in the notes.
I forget.
But I am going to do it this time. It's a book that's called A Black Woman's History of the United States.
Mm.
And so, it goes back, I think, 1600s forward, and it prioritizes lots of voices, but it talks to enslaved women, freed women, religious leaders, queer women, women who lived outside of the law from the Black perspective of the navigation through the United States. And I feel like that should be almost like, if you're going to go into this work and you want to make sure that you're doing the right things, that you don't forget this lens. It's important to know, because that's the other issue that I think comes up. And I think this is fair. This is like a debatable issue that you might think doesn't count. A lot of what you see when we're talking about diversity and inclusion, they aren't understanding the message and the goals of which we're trying to meet. Like when you talk about, when they say vendors, like diverse vendors or minority businesses is what you hear a lot. And they include women into that respect. From a political standpoint, it's BS, because you see people giving to businesses that are owned, just their husband just switches over the name to their white wife and then say, oh, then you're giving to it, but they're not. They're still getting the benefit from this white man being there. And then you're not really giving that. The purpose was not just to give it to a woman, like you're giving it to someone who has a business where historically didn't have an opportunity. So you have to look at those things deeper than just a checklist of these are the vendors that you can go to if you want to make impact. And so in there was a school board that removed white women from minority-owned businesses. They have it separate. They have separate ones where you can do that, but that doesn't count into when we're talking about having diverse vendors, that doesn't, they don't count.
Yeah, that diversity spend. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because I'm actually right now building out how does D&I impact every department in your organization? And so kind of going high level, like, okay, procurement, sales, what are the things that, product development, all of these different things, like what do you need to be thinking about? Because I think for so many companies, they do go, oh, HR will take care of that. And like letting the marketing team know, hey, don't use stock photos that aren't actually reflective of your team, or use stock photos at all, because that's just not,
Gross.
yeah, it's just gross. And being thoughtful about some of that stuff and being thoughtful about like, how is it actually, how are you presenting yourself to the world? And, you know, and there is that message that I've heard, and I agree with this to a point, is I get asked the question of like, hey, we're trying to do marketing, we're using our employees, but we don't have diversity. So how do we talk about that, or what do we do? And I'm like, you're honest. Hey, we're working on it.
Own it.
Yeah, we're not there yet. But I've heard some, you know, counter defense of like, oh no, you shouldn't do that, because that also looks like you're just trying but not actually doing anything. And I'm like, well, it's not something you can use forever, but for
Right.
you know, the first 6 months of working on this stuff, you absolutely can and should. But I also think there's just so many layers, as you know, there's so many layers and so many things to be thinking about, and I just don't think everyone takes that time to actually.
No, because it gets tired, like
It's exhausting.
Hey, this is William Tincup, and you should know about the You Should Know podcast. It's a topical, fun podcast with Ryan, myself, and a guest, or guests, plural sometimes, and we tackle the most timely topics of the day. Give it a look, give it a listen, and subscribe. Thanks.
like I'm not even, it's like running a marathon and then it's like, wait, you didn't win. Like you got in a taxi and you went cross country, and you
Right.
kind of think, well, that was kind of smart because it sucks.
Right.
But give back your medal. That's all.
Yeah, that's all.
And that's what I think from the recruiting standpoint, from my lens, that's what the biggest challenge is that you just get tired. You just get
Mhm.
so tired. Even I think that's what is interesting about the kind of work that we do. I know. So I think everybody feels like this is easy, just like people think hiring is easy. Like they
Mhm.
don't need human resources. They need to build a product. Like there's all these things where people think that they can do it,
Mhm.
And then when they get into it, the exhausting part is like, you have to tell the same story over and over to every department as soon as it comes up, like every day. And that's why every diversity inclusion person I know in their own companies is like the Debbie Downer. It's like the
Mhm.
anti-fun committee. It's like the no fun committee. Like, sorry, we need to consider these things until people can do it for themselves. And
Right.
you don't want to say, we're not doing just relay races at our company picnic,
Right.
but you can't do that if your impact is this. And so I think that's the other thing that's happened with so many organizations that say that they have a desire to increase diversity in the organizations, don't recognize they don't know what that means.
Right. They don't.
Like,
well,
they
and
just
it's the like, oh, well, we have workers in our warehouse that are people of color, and you're like, cool, who's in leadership?
Mhm.
It's kind of that conversation too of like, oh no, we're totally diverse, and you're like, but are you really? Because your first and second line of leadership is all white people.
Mhm.
So,
and that's the thing that Harvard Business Review talks about. Like this is something that we were talking about with organizations that try to have diverse slates. And it's like, you can't just have a diverse slate. Like you have to have 3 underrepresented people on the slate for every one, white male on the slate. You have to have 3 non-white male, cisgender, able-bodied people, SWAMs on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have read the article about that you cannot have one person that's diverse or considered diverse. And it is like, yeah, you have to have 2 or 3 or more in that slate, or it's statistically impossible for the person to be hired. Yeah.
0% chance with one diverse person.
Yeah. And I love having that conversations with people like on the finance team and stuff. And they're like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Thanks.
I'm super good at the maths.
Right. Okay, I'll go over your books if you go over. I had to have that conversation last week because we were talking about GDPR and diversity recruiting. And there was a sales guy that started going into it. And I was like, listen, I promise not to sell anything as long as you stop talking about shit you know nothing about.
Nothing about. Yeah.
I don't even know how much the product costs. My job is to tell you what you need, not what you can afford.
Right.
Your job is to tell them what you're selling them, not oversee their diversity and inclusion program.
Right.
Like, we have to navigate through these things, and you're talking about something you know nothing about, and that's
Right.
what you have to. That's why you have to stop. You want everybody to be knowledgeable about diversity, but it's a continuous thing, and there's a lot of places for it to go sideways.
Well, I think I agree. And I actually had the opportunity to have a couple conversations with someone who's also a DEI consultant. And we kind of got into it a little bit because there was so much opinion versus fact. And I'm totally cool with you having your opinion, but when it comes to like working with a client, you kind of have to leave some of that at the side and go, here's the data to prove what I'm saying, not just I feel or I think, because you lose people. Because it's not just about, oh, hey, this person came in and told us to do these things. Why? Where's the data to prove this actually will work? Where's, the HBR article is a great example of like, hey, this is why you should have a diverse slate, and this is how you do it, so that people actually understand and then can actually see the math and can see why it's important to have 2 or more. And so it's the like stuff like that you just got to go, this is where you need that expertise, people who've done this, who've been through this, not someone who's passionate about it. And we love people that are passionate about it and
stay passionate about it and rally and get people together and do those things. But because the problem is, you don't have, when you literally legit, you will be standing talking for all the underrepresented people at an organization by your freaking self. And they're looking to you to make the space. So it's hard. So if you can't take the blows, you have to bring somebody else in or step aside, because it will get ugly. And what happens is the opposite impact is what you say. And then you have some freaking CEO that says, we're just not going to talk about it at all because we can't seem to have a good conversation that's
It's
productive.
hard.
And and it's really uncomfortable. Wouldn't it just be easier? Like, that's what I hear a lot from recruiters. Wouldn't it be easier just to hire these people?
No.
Just to get butts in the seat. But I thought you were
Yeah.
doing something a little different than that.
Yeah, I thought you actually cared about this and wanted it to be a sustainable program that we actually implemented forever,
Right.
and created spaces where folks can feel accepted and feel safe and feel like their company cares about them and isn't telling them, don't talk about that because it's uncomfortable for some folks.
It's uncomfortable for us too. Somebody told me that the other day. They're like, oh, you're so strong and so confident when you go in there. I was like, no, what? No. It's just my job to do. It's just my job. It's my job.
Yeah. And it's
So I
also
take it very serious.
well, and you have to be the expert in the room to be able to get folks on board, and you have to know your stuff, because like the joke I always, maybe this isn't, it's funny to me.
I was about to
Like,
say, is it funny, a joke?
It's funny to me. So that counts as something. When you talk to the CEO, you're talking about bottom line results and, why this will impact their brand, all of these different things. When you talk to the CEO, you're talking about the financial benefit. And again, those bottom line results, but you're not talking about the feel good or why you should do this because it's a great thing to do. You're talking about the numbers. When you talk to the chief operating officer, you're talking about, okay, how will this impact the product? How will this impact the people that come and work for you? How, and so there's certain things that you kind of focus on with each person to make sure that they get, why is this important to you? And why? And that's what I was saying, like the department thing. I sat down and started thinking through it, and I was like, yeah, D&I touches every single part of the company if it's done right. Because it's, from comms and PR to finance with procurement, like we said, it's, things like you don't realize, like in sales, how are you having your people talk to prospective buyers? How are you having your people learn how to speak to different people who are different than what they're used to? And also, how do you talk about your products and how they are inclusive and that they are something that multiple folks can do? And things like that, that it's like, yeah, we need to do better.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox now. All right, my friends. What is one thing you want to make sure folks get out of this episode?
Diversity inclusion work it's a study, it's a work. There are no set fast experts because we're always learning the journey, but it isn't a passion. It's taking the data, the facts, the information, and sharing that information with clients. And so there's a difference between understanding the importance and becoming a spokesperson for all things diversity and inclusion.
Awesome. Mine kind of goes along that same line. It's you have to keep learning, you have to keep growing, because things change. Things are changing rapidly right now. If you talk about, some of the bans on trans acknowledgement in schools, and you're talking about, things like,
did you freaking hear Kate? Sorry, different podcast.
I'm telling you what I'm learning, Jackye. Just bite your tongue. We'll talk about that later.
Mute.
I'm going to go on mute and tell everyone what I think. But I would also say this is hard work, and the pain and strain that you go through in a work week, talking to people and working through some of the stuff, and some of it you are going to go, shoot, I don't have an answer. And that's when you reach out to other experts who have different experiences than you do to go, what would you do in this situation? Or how should I talk about this? Like, I have one of my very dear friends, Angela Huey, who will be on the podcast soon. I will beg her, because I haven't even asked her yet. I need to. She is like the spokesperson for all LGBTQ people in Arizona, pretty much. She runs one community and she's amazing. But I will call her and be like, so tell me about this thing. Tell me about this legislation that's going through. Like, what do you think about it? How does this impact folks? And I think that's part of it too, is just really thinking about how are you learning and continuing to learn. And then the last piece I'll say is, no matter what size company you are, you need to look at the spend with vendors. So like, look at who you're actually giving money to help you with your business. And it doesn't matter, like, I'm a one-person organization, and I look at it every time I talk to someone like, okay, who is this person? What are they all about? Do they agree with the things that I'm working on? Because it can be hard. And that is all I learned. A lot of things. I learned a lot of things every day.
I see. I love that. I'm going to make another ask, because we never ask people this. If you like what we're doing, can you give us a review? If you watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Google or wherever you listen to us, and you like what you're hearing, will you give us a review, a positive review? If there's things that you hate about it, you can give us a review too.
No.
Yes,
if you don't like
better.
it,
We get
if you
better.
don't like it, shh. Just
We're
kidding.
inclusive AF, except for people who don't like us. That's not the name of the show.
Oh, crap. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, please do give us feedback, both constructive and positive. And we also have Cup of Joe as an option if you like us and want to help us continue to talk about these topics and share them with the world. Consider buying us a cup of coffee. Which is,
We got a cup of coffee this week. That was lovely.
We did. We got actually
a couple.
10 cups,
10
of,
cups
coffee,
of coffee,
which was phenomenal. And that person will also be a future guest.
Yes.
All right, then. Thank you so very much for joining us. This is Katie.
And this is Jackye. And this is the Inclusive AF podcast.
Bye.
Bye.